Hi there, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest news from the country.
The ongoing heavy rains in Brazil have caused 25 deaths in Bahia state and 6 fatal victims in Minas Gerais state. The situation is more critical in Bahia, where almost 33,000 people are unsheltered, 57,000 were displaced, and 517 were hurt. 165 cities in Bahia were affected, and 153 of them declared state of emergency, says Bahia's governor in a public statement published on 1st January. Now, the heavy rains are in the southeast and midwest Brazilian regions. The destruction of Cerrado, the most biodiverse savanna on the planet, continues at a fast pace in Brazil and rose to 7.9% in 12 months. It lost 8.5 thousand square kilometers of native vegetation, which is more than 6 times the size of the city of São Paulo's area. Even though it includes the period between August 2020 and July 2021, the data were announced with no fuss by the National Institute for Space Research, a federal agency, on New Year's Eve amid celebrations. The extension of the deforested area is the largest one since 2016. It represents a landmark of the environmental devastation during Bolsonaro's term, an ally of agribusiness.
At the end of 2021, the Chamber of Deputies approved, with support from the Bolsonaro government, a bill allowing the consolidation of old illegal occupations and new deforestation initiatives in permanent preservation areas on the banks of rivers that cross the city. To environmentalists and opposition parties, is the worst regression imposed by the federal government and legislative power on Brazil's environmental legislation in recent years. See more in the story of the week.
In the real world, the bill will allow new deforestation acts and land occupations in environmental protection areas, known in Brazil as APAs, besides consolidating illegal occupations already set up. It also increases the risks of floodings, landslides, and, primarily, it compromises the Brazilian hydric resources, which are getting scarcer and threatened by climate change.
The vegetation is mailing grass, a component of riparian forests. It protects the hydric resources from harms like pollution.
São Paulo's federal deputy Nilton Tato from the Workers' Party recalls that, before the approval, the deputies rejected the bill amendments proposed by the Senate, which would reduce part of the environmental impacts. Among the proposed amendments were the demand for technical analysis of the areas already occupied and the keeping of current protection length in meters for areas not yet occupied.
We have the occurrence of more landslides, particularly in big and medium cities, because of storms in the occupied environmental protected areas. The people living in these places lose their investments and sometimes even their lives. With the recent storms in the south of Bahia, we are seeing right now an example of that. Every year we watch it happen somewhere in Brazil.
Currently, the Brazilian Forest Code determines that the strips of rivers' permanent preservation areas be between 30 and 50 meters, depending on the width of the watercourse. In addition to the short-term vision and irresponsibility by the deputies who made the bill's approval happen, Nilton also thinks there are private interests at stake and that they will be facilitated by the decentralization of decision-making.
Nowadays, we have an intense pressure from the real estate sector that wants to pass it to the municipality, because there the real estate sector has a bigger capacity to lobby or put the city council and city hall under pressure.
Verse, rhyme, and prayer. These are the tools that the repentistas use to tell stories. Hippanchi, also known as cantoria, was recognized as Brazil's cultural heritage by the National Historical and Artistic Heritage Institute at the end of 2021. In today's Cultural Talk, we are going to know new voices of this genre. That's a great reference to the Brazilian Northeast cultural identity.
Quando Deus fez a mulher, já fez com delicadeza, com garra, força.
Fabienne Ribeiro is 22 years old and has a 4-year career. She is part of the new generation of repentistas who keeps alive the art of improvising verses.
At that time, the older singers sang based on the Holy Bible, novels, and court days. Currently, that's not what happens. We sing based on other topics because the singing keeps renewing itself just as the world.
To Adiel Luna, repente is an art that runs in the family. He learned to sing with his father, Arnaldo Ferreira. Adiel is now 37 and started in the art early in life when he was 16. He explained that there is a few repentistas as old as him, but the situation is different among those who are in their 20s.
Popular culture as a whole begins to be absorbed by the universities to be more respected. It's been a long time since people started to bring it to the academic environment, but now they treat it more respectfully. The category itself is becoming dignified and imposing its respect, making it an attractive career.
The brothers Jairo and Jefferson started their careers as repente singer-poets in their teens. They say there are many repentistas. Now, the challenge is to attract new fans, also known as apologistas.
We and the others, like the current young singers, sing for the old listeners. We sing to those who promote the singers from 30, 40 years ago. Therefore, that apologista is elder today. Then an apologista like that passes away and we are worried there is no substitution. Who will take the place and promote and listen to singing?
With the recognition of repente as Brazil's cultural heritage, they hope there will be more public policies to value this tradition, such as projects to teach it in schools.
Minha vida de poeta é andar todo o país. Num dia estou em São Paulo, no outro em Imperatriz.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Today's recipe is a classic one, baked quiber, but I'll prepare the vegetarian version of it with squash. That's a dear dish of vegetarian people. It is too tasty, it has fibers and is healthy. That's my version of this recipe, filled with pecan nuts. Come with me to learn how to make it. You'll need kabocha squash or moringa squash, bulgur wheat, minced onion, parsley, pepper, and salt to add to the dough. To make the filling, you're gonna use olive oil, sliced onion, and nuts. I'm using pecan nuts, but you can use the one you have at hand. Also, you're gonna need a little bit of mint and lime zest. I steamed my squash with its peel to avoid the pulp of being too moist. Soak the bulgur wheat in plenty of cold water for 15 minutes. Drain the wet using a sifter, pressing to remove the water. Then you're going to do the same thing using your hands, taking portion by portion to make it dry. After the squash is cooked, you're gonna remove its pulp and knead it with a fork. Then mix the squash with bulgur wheat, onion, parsley, and pepper until you have a dough. Add salt and taste it to see if it is okay. It's time to prepare the filling. Braise a bit of the onion on olive oil and add a pinch of salt. When the onion turns brown, you're gonna add the nuts and finish the dish adding a lot of chopped mint. Then turn off the burner. Grease the baking pan with olive oil, put in the pan half of the squash dough, add the filling and sprinkle lime zest over the filling. Cover the remaining dough. With a handle spoon, make a checkered drawing and put it in the preheated oven for more or less 20 minutes until it is brown. For those who were wondering why I made this checkered design on the quiber, look at this. After it's roasted, you pour the olive oil on it and it goes into the drawing lines. Thus leaves the quiber super wet. So, did you like this vegetarian recipe of this classic baked quiber? Kisses and I'll see you next time.
Do you like the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.